Hey guys, how you going? It's Brad and Sogg here from the Couch Critics, bringing you another episode. And this week, first round of the A League Men competition is wrapped up. We're going to have a look at the week ahead. We're going to have a look back at the week that was, and we're going to talk about some of the topics that have been popping up in the soccer Twitter news in the past week or the past couple of days or so. So, like I said, I'm Brad. I'm joined by my co-host Sogg. How we going, mate? You would have enjoyed that Sydney FC game you went to last week.
How good is it letting 11 fellas on a piece of grass ruin your whole week? Just love it. It's good to have football back, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's great to see the Wanderers, even though they didn't score, they're above Sydney FC at the moment on the ladder. But it's
Yeah.
actually Macarthur, the highest ranked Sydney team, which really hurts. I was at that Macarthur game against Brisbane, a really entertaining game. Shame I just went home and everyone wanted to talk about the crowds. Yeah, they sucked, but the game was actually quite entertaining. So,
Yeah.
um, anyway, let's talk about the round that was obviously your team. Sydney FC went down to Melbourne Victory. I would say it was a bit of a shock, 2-0, and my team, the Wanderers, put on an absolute snooze fest and a 0-0 draw with Wellington. I watched the first half because I had to work, so I couldn't watch too much of it. Probably had a good chance. I don't know, but from all reports, it was a pretty boring game. Was there any
Look,
particular highlight for you this weekend across the 6 games, Samuel, in the men's competition?
the highlight for me, Adelaide were banging. Like
Yeah.
that was a great start to the season. Adelaide were on fire. Musa Toure just
Mm.
cooking Jacob Farrell and getting him sent off. Absolute calamity for Mariners, and that was really the only kind of thing that we chatted about last week that I got right. Actually, in my tipping for fantasy tipping, zero. Every match wrong. Every match wrong. So it can only go up from here. Um, yeah, look, just being back at the football was fun. I enjoyed
Yeah.
going to the Sydney game. Neither team was great. And then Victory just kind of pounced us twice. It was good to see Jonah Lomu playing for the Victory and just running over our team.
Oh, that was
Nick
yeah.
Snell.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was a good round. Actually, the only match I didn't watch was Jets v Perth, and that was actually a cracker as
Yeah,
well.
good finish to that game.
Yeah, so yeah, exciting football, except for the Wanderers game. Like I was out in Western Sydney that day, and it was cooking. And we got home, put the TV on. I was like, these poor fellas.
Mm.
Like, no wonder the game was boring because it was like 34 degrees at 3 o'clock in the afternoon there. And
Yeah.
wow, hot
Yeah, and
stuff.
I think the commentator on the sideline though, they said that out in the sun, yeah, it's cooking, it's 32, but in the shade, it's actually really nice. It's like 22 degrees in the shade. But
Shame
unfortunately,
that
at three
like
o'clock,
half the pitch is in the shade though.
yeah, and in the stand with the majority of the seats is out in the sun, while the corporate side is protected by the shade.
These the slummers out in the sunshine. It's like, the theater of dreams. I'm not talking about Old Trafford here. I'm talking about, Shakespeare. You got the
Sure.
high class people up in the nice seats, and then you've got the slum
Mhm.
down in the bottom. That's what it feels like sometimes
Yeah.
at elite stadiums. Um, what I would love to see just a stadium built for a hot weather climate, with a roof, not because it's going to rain, but because you want some shade, like,
Yeah.
some, I don't know, big shade cloths over the top. Imagine that. Just put a shade cloth over the top of Combank Stadium.
Or put
The rain
aircons in
can
all of
still
them.
get through. It'll be great.
Yeah, I don't know. As a country, we're well enough acclimatized to desert temperatures like Qatar, where they feel the need to put aircons in all their stadiums. But
I'm just
maybe in 50 years' time with climate change, they might have to start looking at some air. You know what? I've been to the tennis stadium down in Melbourne for the Australian Open, and their aircon, it is spot on. We went there, watched the game.
yeah.
It was 40 degrees. They put the aircon on. I was like, I should have brought a jumper. It works. And I'm sure they could do it at the stadiums. Obviously, the electricity bill would be quite high. But anyway, my advice for people sitting in the sun at Combank is go to the family and go to the RBB.
Yeah.
Bro, like I've done it plenty of times, just getting a family ticket and walking in the RBB. The security doesn't check. Or no, okay. What you got to do is when the big wave of the ultras come in,
That's right.
just go in with them because they're not going to check everyone. But obviously that's not something I would support.
No, no, definitely not.
Same with the MacArthur game. I went on the weekend when I bought tickets behind the hill. I just went onto the seats in the sun, so I don't think the security was going to stop me. That was my fault for sitting in the sun.
when there's 3,000 fans in that stadium, I reckon you could even potentially make it into the shaded side at MacArthur. I don't know. Just give it a go.
Yeah, probably.
I think Western United, look, you guys
Oh
are
yeah.
surely you say you're going to build a stadium. Here's your chance. Like build a stadium because you're out cooking on the edge of Melbourne. It probably does get hot there, once a day because Melbourne the weather changes about 3 times every day. Western could do it. They could pioneer some proper Aussie stadia with something to provide a bit of shade or aircon. I'd love to see that. I don't think it's going to happen, but
Probably not.
Melbourne City, you got all that oil money from Man City. Put it to good use. Give us some aircon.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a good game as well. Western getting up against City in front of a good crowd there down at Amy Park. Looking ahead,
actually, we've got to talk about Noah Bodic. Like celebrating the penalty, brilliant. Like that never happens, and then pulling your hammy while celebrating, just so
very unfortunate.
And couldn't be subbed because they'd used all their substitutions. Just that's PK league.
But a youngster for him though, he stepped up. He was really keen to take that penalty. Took it really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The hats off to him, and hopefully the injury isn't too bad.
There you go.
Looking ahead to week 2, your boys are under the spotlight on Friday night up at Lang Park in Brisbane, and I feel like there'd be a good buzz around Brisbane. I think they've done a lot of work and engagement in the off season to really bring the fans back. And I remember this game last year. I think it was only their last game. They played 3 games at Lang Park all year, and this was the 3rd game there. They actually got a really good crowd. So I'm hoping there'll be a good buzz around this because I think Brisbane are going to have a much better year than they've had in the past few. And hopefully they get a good crowd down there. And I guess it'll be a good sign to see where Brisbane's at and to see where Sydney FC are at because they had a real stinker against Victory. Are they going to bounce back? Was that the form they're going to be in this year? And in Brisbane, are they going to live up to the little bit of hype they've got? Not heaps of hype, but there's a bit of hype around them that they'll be a lot better.
Yeah, like you said, I think that Australia Cup run has done a lot of good. I think the new chairman, you've got Nick Fitzgerald and Kaz Patafta. They're doing all the right things, and they've talked about taking Brisbane back to Lang Park and that being really where they belong. And they kind of know you're never really going to get proper stadia in Brisbane for a football team unless we really push for it. So they know it's probably the best place to be. Redcliffe is too far from a lot of the fans. So I think those things should lead to a good crowd, but I don't think it's just about the crowd. I think football-wise, they're looking better. Ross Aloisi, he's started well with them. It'd be interesting because obviously it's just been 3 weeks since Sydney beat Brisbane in the Australia Cup, and that was a really interesting game, a game of 2 halves. So it'd be interesting to see they've kind of played each other in that competitive fixture not too long ago. How things are going to change. I think Sydney, they weren't terrible, they just weren't good. It was a far cry from that Australia Cup second half, and so I think there was factors to that. Redmayne feeling a bit fatigued coming back from international duty, Robbie Mack as well. So I think Sydney FC will improve. I think they'll have had the boot up them this week, and I think it should be a good game. Friday night should be a good start to the second round.
Yeah, for sure. There's a few other games on the afternoon on Saturday, 3:30 p.m. New South Wales time. Wellington's hosting Perth in the one of the last few editions we're going to get off the distance derby because I believe Perth to Auckland is a greater distance than Perth to Wellington. So when Auckland join next year, I think the distance derby between Wellington and Perth are over, but not really. It'll live forever in our hearts. That's the proper distance derby. So that one's at 3:30. The Wanderers playing Western United at 7:45. That'll be my first Wanderers home game of the season, so I'm excited to get there out at Parramatta. Surely they can't. All around, I thought the Wanderers were okay, but just going forward, they had a few good chances early on, and then after that, it seems like it was a bit of a snooze. Western, I think I tipped them for the top 4, so they had a really good win against City at the start of the season. I expect them to be a really hard team to beat as well, so should be an interesting fixture to see where these two teams are at. I think the first week for the Wanderers was just, one of those days. They had an off day, and I'm confident they will bounce back. But I think think Western United will be a lot harder to play than obviously Wellington. I think we both tipped Wellington not to have particularly great seasons. So, yeah, it'll be an exciting match.
Yeah, look, I think Wellington Perth should give us something interesting. I think the signs are good from Perth. There's something about them.
No, you want to talk about him? I was ready to skip straight over him, but go on.
Ollie Sales going back to his club
Yeah.
after an absolute stinker in stoppage time against the Jets. So that'll be interesting for him. Wellington weren't terrible last weekend. So, that's something. Like they had chances as well against.
Yeah.
So look, I think that will still be an okay game. The early kickoff on Saturday, but yes, Wanderers Western. I think that's going to be a good match. I think one in the cooler temperature night kick. Wanderers will be a bit more free flowing, and Western look good. So yeah, I'm really excited.
5:21 on Saturday, so it'll be a lot better. On Wellington though, going back to Wellington again, Alex Paulson, their goal. Yeah, well, actually, I just thought about it. Alex Paulson, their goalkeeper, had a blinder on the weekend. I have to say, he's a real standout for that club. And with Ollie Sale going on, it looks like he might have a good season, or it might have just been a fluke for that first round. But anyway, Saturday it's Macarthur v Central Coast.
Sunday,
up at Gosford. Both of these teams are in action tonight as we record on Thursday night, and Central Coast getting up 6-3 against Bali United from Indonesia, and Macarthur still haven't kicked off. They're playing Phnom Penh from Cambodia, and I'd expect it is away from home, so it'd be a bit trickier, but I still expect Macarthur to get up in those games. I actually put it on Twitter. Well, let's just talk about the Asian Cup or the AFC Cup. Where would some of these Asian teams sit in the New South Wales football system? MPL 2, MPL 3, the Western Premier League? Joe K responded and reckons they'd be in a relegation battle, but Orange Sims would get up on them out in the Central West comp.
They're maybe not that bad, but look, it's hard to tell, and you do have to put it into some perspective. Like the Mariners had a 0 draw away from home in their first game.
No, it was a 1-0 loss.
A 1-0 loss, even. Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
Watching that game, that was one of those. You know when you play FIFA and you have 30 shots and you can't score, and the other guy gets one shot and scores.
Yeah.
That was that game. I've got no doubt the Mariners will bounce back and win that group, but it was just one of those days. You just have one of those days.
But I think it's something people really do underestimate. I think it happens with a lot of people. They watch the Champions League in Europe and they're like, you can win away from home. Look at this team. And it's like, yeah, they flew from England all the way to Azerbaijan, which is a 4-hour flight.
I think it's a bit longer than that.
No, it's like a 4-hour flight, 4.5-hour flight. And that is just
5.5. 5.5.
5.5. Okay.
But still, that's probably the furthest they'll ever travel.
That's Melbourne flying and getting to Darwin, and then having to double that to get anywhere. Like where did Melbourne City play last night? They played in Thailand.
Yeah.
It's like a 9-hour flight, maybe even longer. That's huge. And that's happening the other way back. So I don't want to be too kind to these Asian Cup teams. Like some of them are terrible, and they've topped their leagues, and they've got one Brazilian guy who's randomly, like, I think the guy playing for Bali United up front, he was like the top striker in the Maltese Premier League or something.
Yeah, I heard that on the commentary. Yeah.
Like, good on him. But some of these nations actually care about football. Like Buriram that Melbourne City played last night in the Champions League, albeit by competition. Their stadium looked awesome. Thailand actually cares about football. There's actually no wonder that they've got a higher coefficient than Australia do at the moment, because we don't seem to care. So I don't think it's completely fair to some of these teams to say
the coefficient is pretty cooked. I mean, we missed out because during COVID, we didn't play. I think it really stuffed our coefficient around, but I think it's what it showed is like there's the really good teams like Japan, South Korea, Saudi. Then there's us probably trying to compete with them. There's a bit of a gap between them. And then the gap between Australia and some of these countries like Myanmar and Cambodia and Indonesia are so far behind. So there might be some inconsistency with the coefficient. I think it'll change the way they've rechanged the Asian Champions League, all that for the next couple of years. It'll probably make sure we're not playing those lower tier nations anymore. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for these clubs like Bali to go on an away day like this, but maybe I've been too harsh.
Yeah, look,
I still think
it's a lot of travel, and they're doing the travel to Australia. It means teams like Mariners, and good on them, they've made their home ground tough, and so
it has pissed rain both games they've played.
They still conceded 3 goals to Bali tonight, and maybe they've rested some players because they've got a match on Saturday or Sunday, sorry. But like, you've let Bali come to Gosford after traveling, 8 hours and score 3 goals against you. You could be doing better.
Yeah, they probably could have. I think me watching it, I was like, yeah, they give me this vibe of they're just doing enough. Because I think they've got and it's not a good mindset to have. You want to go out and play really well every game. But I think they had a mindset of, let's just need to do enough and we'll beat them. And they did that, but they got a bit complacent.
I think what it is a great opportunity for these A-League clubs in the AFC Cup to play young players. And so say to them, hey, go out and play your heart out. And, okay, beat Bali United 8-0. But show me why you deserve a spot actually in a week and a half's time in the A-League squad. I think it's a good opportunity in the group stage to say, okay, but also we talk about Australia actually doing well in this, and it's been 10 years since the Wanderers magically won the Asian Champions League, and we're never going to see anything like that again. So one part of me actually says, well, Mariners and MacArthur, you've got a real chance to actually go and win silverware, and that helps the coefficient. If you're winning these competitions, it actually boosts Australian football. So yeah, maybe play some young players, but don't take this. Yeah, like you said, don't take it so complacently. If you can win silverware, then go and do it, and do it well. And Asia goes, okay, you get your Champions League spots back, and then we actually have to care about that competition too. So
and City are doing well in that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think we have the opportunity. We should do better, and we can do better. We've just got to care, and so getting those competitions right is important. So I think it's good. I hope MacArthur do win tonight.
So a really good preview for the MacArthur Central Coast game there. We just kind of talked about their Asian campaigns, but I think the Mariners will be a bit well rested in terms of they didn't have to go on a big flight to Cambodia midweek like MacArthur.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how they'll back up Central Coast. Obviously, they missed Aleaguecouchc and Brian Kaltak. Well, they got subbed off quite early, Aleaguecouchc and Brian Kaltak. And for the first 15 minutes, I thought the Mariners played really well against Adelaide. Those two guys went off. They kind of fell apart. So you need to have Brian Kaltak on that field. And I don't know what his update was. I think Aleaguecouchc trained, but I don't know what the go is with Kaltak. So
yeah, they said it wasn't too serious, but yeah, it's kind of dangerous. You don't want that in the first game of the season. Injuries like that could really derail, because I don't know they've got particularly a ready-made replacement.
Yeah,
I think Nathan Paul, Sydney FC kind of youth player, like the rest of the A-League. I think he's just been signed on a full contract. So maybe that says that Kaltak isn't as fit as he probably should be this weekend.
Well, the 5 p.m. kickoff down in Melbourne is between the Victory and the Newcastle Jets down at Melbourne Tangular Stadium. So it'll be interesting. This is Victory's first home game where they won't have the restrictions, I believe, the crowd restrictions, since that fateful derby just before Christmas. So
yeah, hopefully
they behave themselves. But it'll be interesting to see how they go, because I don't think they'll be a team competing for the top 4, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last year. This would be a good opportunity for them to go 2 from 2, because I don't think we rate Newcastle that well, though they played quite well against Perth last week. I don't know what to make of this one. I reckon. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, look, I think it is a great opportunity for Victory. Again, just as Sydney weren't bad but weren't fantastic, Melbourne were kind of the same. they probably had the better of the chances. Well, I mean, they had the better XG if you're into those kind of stats and things. Probably had the better Paramount Plus player index, whatever that is. But yeah, look, they've not got a bad side. I don't think there's anyone to make like Bruno Fornaroli. I love him, and he scored a great goal against us. But he's so old. Like what is he? 35?
I think he's 36.
Like he's their starting striker, and so I do just worry how successful you can be with that. Like we old players can still do well in the A-League, but it's
long term. He's not
having someone who's in their prime.
Yeah, long term, he's not a solution to their striking problems.
No,
but hats off at 36. You're still playing pro football. I'm at 28 and I got nowhere near it. So
that's right. No, like he's a great striker. Like absolutely. I think the depth of Victory squad isn't the strongest, and one or two
if he gets injured.
Yeah, or their midfield. If one of those midfielders is out, and Jake Brim has just come back from a long injury.
Yeah,
you kind of want to bring him in slowly because I don't think they survive injuries particularly well. You saw last season didn't go well for them. So, Castle Jets actually, I don't want to talk about them on the field. I last week interesting 2 goals. One a bit lucky. Costa Grozos was pretty good. There's signs they've got young players. The big news out for them this week is the same group that helped sell get Perth Glory sold, which was really good. And that was only a 3-month process. Quarter Mentha is their name or something like that.
Sure.
It sounds like a second-rate drug.
You speak on experience about second-rate drugs.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm all about the Audi Panamax or whatever it's called.
Oh, those kind of drugs, right?
Oh, yeah, good on you, Brett. Whoever they are, look, they've done a great job selling Perth. And apparently it's been like 2 days and they say there's heaps of interest in people buying the Newcastle Jets. One, I'm a little skeptical on that because if there was heaps of interest, what on earth has the APL...
Have they clarified it is Newcastle, New South Wales and not Newcastle, Northeast England?
Maybe not. But, if you get a buyer, you get a buyer, bait and switch. Look, if there was really genuine interest, why is this group being brought in the first place? So I'm a little skeptical on that. But if it's true, if there's interest and they can sell the club and they've kind of assured there's relocation, it's Newcastle you're buying and you're buying that club and keeping them there. If somebody wants to take them on, then we get this group in control and get them to sell the next TV rights deal as well, because they could probably... If
they can sell Newcastle,
get
them selling the TV rights for good money.
Absolutely. So good signs there for Newcastle. Jets fan, let us know what you think about that, because it's been misery. And we talked about this in our preview pod, kind of until they sort things out off the pitch, I don't think they'll ever get it right on the pitch. And so this is really good steps. So props to them. Maybe this kind of positivity helps them soar this weekend, just fly into the game and snag some points. I'd love to see beat Victory. It'd be great.
Yeah, we're all about positive vibes here in Newcastle. Please do a job and beat them, please, because I think the rest of the A-League will thank you. Of course, though, we're impartial here. We don't hold any biases and grudges against any teams.
Yeah, no, not at all.
The Jets. Anyway, we love you, Melbourne. No, I don't even really like Melbourne.
I like the holiday. I like the holiday in Melbourne.
I like leaving. That's my favourite part. That's all right. The last game of the pardon?
Well, I was going to say somewhere else that's better than Melbourne, Adelaide.
Yeah, well, I was getting on to Adelaide. I think this potentially could be the match of the round, and it's the final game of the round.
Yeah,
I don't know. 7 p.m. kicking off at Hindmarsh Stadium. Adelaide, who, I think some people will quickly write them off after they lost a lot of good players. Had a really good start against the defending champs, and now they welcome Melbourne City, and there's a good buzz again. And on a Sunday night in what could be one of the matches of the round, I think this could be potentially a really entertaining game. With that crowd there at Hindmarsh, it always brings a good vibe. And I think with Adelaide, it's all going to be about the juniors this season. I'm hoping we'll see more of those juniors. Nestor Irakunda, Torre, you said about before.
And Musa, yep.
Hopefully we'll see a big impact from those guys and more against City this weekend.
Yeah, look, I think Adelaide is going to be one of those teams because it's a young team. I think they're going to ride some highs and they're going to ride some lows. Last week was a high, and they've got players like Ben Halloran, who the last great season he had was when Craig Goodwin left the club the first time for Saudi Arabia. He had best goals and assist tally that season. Maybe signs of that again. Some other players that I thought were really good was the right back for Adelaide, Panache Madanya, I think his name is.
Just say confidently, man. And
it's an incredible name. Panache Madanya. I'm going with that. He looks really good as a right back. He was exciting. I think Ryan Keto is another kind of experienced player that's he's kind of their level setter.
Yeah.
Him, Halloran, I think that's really good. Ibasuki up front, I think can score goals. So I think they're fun to watch. I think every week this season, they're either going to play really good and be fun, or they're going to be a bit on the nose, and the other team's going to be fun to watch. And Melbourne City will want to bounce back. Maybe they did a bit of that last night in their Champions League match. A 2-0 win in Thailand is really good away from home. So McLaren's goal is good. Marin Jacques on the left wing, 2 assists, and they were really good. He was cooking. The thing I'm worried about, though, like it's only a couple of days turnaround, flying back to Melbourne.
Yeah, they'll probably be home.
Adelaide.
Probably home now, but still adjusting. That's a long time to be sitting on your ass for.
They played their full squad, kind of. Aslan played. So how much is that going to affect the start to their season? Because there's some of these players like playing 4 days later with that flight. That's going to be tough. So it'll be interesting to see what Melbourne City do. Do they rotate the squad a little? I'm intrigued. There's someone like Jamie Young, goalkeeper. He's not a spring chicken anymore. Like, does he bounce back across that flight and play again just a couple of days later? So I think it's a great opportunity for Adelaide to get another win and stay on top of the table. I think I think you're right. It's going to be probably the game of the round if it's all there.
Yeah. And obviously the A-League women's comp is not on this weekend because it's the international break in the women's game. There's a few exciting things in the women comp this week. Week just gone. Brisbane Roar broke their home attendance record when they played Sydney FC. So that was really exciting. And that's probably one of the highlights off the top of my head there. So really exciting.
Youngest ever play in the A-League women's as well.
Yeah, for the Wanderers, 15 and 11 months or something like that.
She just turned 16 like today as we were recording.
Oh, okay. Wow. So
pretty close to 16, but Sam Kerr was like 16 and 57 days or something. So
yes, that's
huge record.
Yeah, and she had to endure the Wanderers losing 3-0. So
I did like that they were bragging, youngest ever player, how great's this, the Wanderers, and it's like you do realize they played a pretty young player and they got pumped.
Yeah, so either she is the next Sam Kerr and that's great, or there's concerning issues there because when you're blooding someone that hasn't turned 16, it's either she's a wonder kid or there's other stuff going on there. But anyway, obviously, we're going to enjoy the Tillies 3 games in the next week. They've sold out all the games. I think they've sold out 11 straight home games played on Australian soil. Be over 100,000 fans, about 100,000 fans across those 3 games in Perth. So that's really exciting, and it's great to see the Tillies are still the hottest commodity in all of Australian sport right now.
Yeah.
You want to talk about some of the topics that were popping up on social media this week, in particular X, formerly known as Twitter. I think we saw Joey Kay giving his opinion on the finals, whether it should be in, and he gave the opinion that he believes we should be in the finals. That obviously brought up a fair bit of conversation online across a lot of social media platforms. So even one when I saw on Reddit calling him a Euro snob.
Wow.
Which is a bit funny because
It's just not true. Like
yeah, it's not
that
true.
guy loves Aussie football.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Joey K, he's one of our breed from out west of New
Bro,
South Wales.
no. We get a. There are different breeds of Central West. There's me, who's lived here for 10 years and has got nothing, never grew up here. Then there's your lot from the Blue Mountains called at the bottom of the Blue Mountains called Lithgow, who are just one of a kind. And he's, I think, from Orange, so
Yeah, yeah.
Shelbyville, whatever.
Orange,
But
Orange is the place, you know.
yeah, but yeah, Central West, yeah. And
Yeah, look,
I think a lot of the debate was good because it sparked a lot of conversation. I think, as always, though, it always brings out the bad side on social media where people just can't agree. And that's okay if we can't agree, but some people just take it a little bit too far. But yeah, whatever. What were your thoughts? Do you agree with him?
yeah, look, I think we've talked about it a little bit on this. Should
We
there
haven't
be?
talked about it for a while, so let's talk
I,
about it again.
I think my opinion changes. I think you're a strong advocate for keeping the grand final series. You think it, and I've never quite been the biggest lover of it. But you know what? The more I think about it, the more I think it actually is appropriate for Australian football to have a final series. Yeah,
You saw what happened in Melbourne last year when
yeah,
they decided to strip the grand final. People were like, oh, finally, why don't we just get rid of all the finals? But people were so adamant because it was such a tradition of the grand
yeah,
final.
yeah. That's right. It's tradition. It is Australian. We're not Europe. Are finals not a football thing? Well, sure, it's not in the Premier League, but the Championship has a final series.
Yeah, the playoffs. Yeah.
It's not to decide who's the champion, but
Mm.
it's a knockout couple of games to reward a team, and they get a bunch of money and then get into the Premier. Like
Yeah, they call
that,
it the richest club football game, that championship playoff, because of the
that's right.
money,
And
the
it
windfall.
happens in the rest of Europe. You know, they have those kind of things, or you have leagues like Belgium, which halfway through splits, or Scotland even does that. They have a top half and a
Mm.
bottom half. People suggested maybe that's the way the A League should go. I genuinely think actually that keeping the finals in is it's good and right for Australian football. I think it means that there's something to play for most teams right up until the end of the
Mm.
season. I think it means, well, it just for all Australians, and this happens in our youth football as well. Like you have finals, and it means
Mm.
our mentality is you might win the regular season, but to prove you're really the champions, you've got to go the whole way and
Mm.
you've got to do it. And I know we've got the Australia Cup, and I would love to see that brought in a bit closer to like in line with the A-League
Mm.
season. And maybe that's a national second division kind of thing that has to be tweaked. But while it's a kind of off-season competition, I think the finals bring that flavor to the end of our A-League season. So
Mm.
yeah, look, I appreciate some of what Joe was saying, but I don't think he's quite right. What are your thoughts, Brett?
Yeah, I like the final system. I briefly chatted to him on Twitter, and he said the moment those words came out of my mouth, I knew I was done for.
It's good engagement.
Oh,
We,
it's
we
good.
could never.
Yeah, and to be fair, I haven't listened to the entire podcast that he was on. It's probably worth it because they talk about football for a fair bit of it. But yeah, like I think like you, I've swapped. Probably 10 years ago, I probably would have liked first past the post because that's what they do in Europe. But I don't think you could ever contemplate it in Australian football when there's no relegation. Because if you just had first past the post in the Premier League, there was no relegation, there was no other European spot, it would be incredibly boring.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we don't have relegation. We have a few Asian spots, but you get rid of the finals, it is an incredibly boring comp because Melbourne City have been quite dominant in the league competition for the past couple of years. I think the finals, it just makes it a bit more exciting. We get it. Some of our biggest ever crowds have come from grand finals. Yeah, and I like the drama of it. I like the Australianness of it. Yeah, it's great what they do in Europe, but like, I don't really care. Like, you look right across the world, the different things they do. We're kind of similar to the MLS, but they have conferences. We don't do that. You said about the Belgian league and the Scottish league. I know the Mexican league and a lot of the Latino leagues have some two different comps throughout the year, and they have a playoff to decide the champion in the different. Must be a winter season or a spring season or something like that. So that it's not just the European way around the world. There are a few different ways the league systems are set up, and that's fine. I think we're quite entertaining in the fact that we've had quite a lot of different champions since the A-League started in that Premier League time. Since, for the past 17, 18 years, how many teams have won the Premier League? Not many. And any new teams that come along have big money, or they fluke it like Leicester, which will, we might not see for another 100 years. So, I think one day if we got relegation, there was more European spots, Asian spots, maybe first past the post, but no. I like our current system. I'd like to probably see a bit more of a reward for the team that tops the regular season. Maybe more money, more emphasis. I don't know.
Well, at the moment, the reward is actually that's the one that gets the Champions League spot.
Yeah. But we talked about it before. Not many clubs take it too seriously, the Champions League.
True.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
And again, like you're saying, we get some of our best crowds. We also have some of our most memorable kind of moments and matches in those final series. Like, think of...
I can't go past that Mariners and Brisbane grand final.
Yeah.
From 2012. That drama, all 4 goals in stoppage time and coming back from 2-0 down for Brisbane to win it on penalties. That's some of the best drama we've had in the A-League.
And like, think... Wanderers against Brisbane in that semi-final.
5-4.
Incredible. You think Adelaide beating Wanderers in the grand final at a packed-out Adelaide cricket ground, like incredible. Those scenes are so cool. You think of Sydney, like the Sydney FC going and winning down in Victoria. You've got Muskie hitting the post, clank. Beautiful stuff like that.
You got the Bessa Barisha. Penalty against Perth.
You've got the Melbourne Victory ghost VAR goal against the Jets, like absolute controversy.
What a shocker.
Man, it stands out. You've got Victory beating Sydney FC in the semi-final that season with the Antonis own goal and then redemption goal. Like, their moments and sure, you have, like, finals are big. Like, finals are big. Those kind of knockout. That's when football really matters. It's put it all on the line and get, Sydney FC last season against the Wanderers. Pull it out when you need it. Like, that's football that creates memories and creates moments. And that's why everyone was so sad last year, because those moments of traveling across Australia to see your team in an away final or having the final at your own stadium, they're such precious memories. So, like, you take that away and the A-League loses a whole bunch of special moments. Sure, you could create them in other ways, but I think the final series for now is the perfect way for the A-League. Yeah. If you really want to talk about what the A-League should drop, and maybe this could be another pod that we spend some time and rant about this, but I think before you ever scrap the finals, you need to scrap I'm a big believer of scrapping the cap. I think changing how it works or scrapping it altogether and just letting teams loose and letting them actually do what they want to with their money. I know there's some financial things, but I reckon that's what you do before you scrap the final series, is scrap the cap. So, yeah. Anyway, that's our thoughts. Obviously, lots of people have shared on Twitter, but feel free to comment your opinions, right or wrong. Depending on what we think. Down in the comments below, are you for a final series or not? We'd love to find out.
Before we wrap up, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I think if you're a member for a club, do you want to let us know what you get in your little membership pack? Because I think we want to talk about that in the next couple of weeks and kind of compare clubs and see who's actually got the best membership pack or what's got the best offers for a club. Yeah. So if you're still listening so far, please like and subscribe or download the pod or give it a review wherever you're listening to, and let us know what you get in your membership pack. because I think that'll be an interesting topic to see who's got the best packs.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's I think that's a good place to wrap us up for this week. Good round of football ahead. Enjoy going to watch the Wanderers, Brad.
Yeah, hopefully I will. It will be my first game. It'll be my 38th time I'll be seeing the Wanderers live. So
Beautiful.
yeah, Footballogy, it's a great app. But yeah, no, awesome. Well, yeah, if you're at the game, come say hi. If you're a Western fan, stuff you. No, that's all right. I'll go say hi to that Western fan. But thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us if you still are, and we'll see you, although we won't really see you, but hopefully you'll hear us or see us in the next video.
So, yeah.